Starting with O-Calc 6.0 and above, there's a new tool to allow the setting, very conveniently, of the height of elements on the pole relative to each other in a notional format. It's called the relative height tool. Let's look at how it works. So I've got a cross arm on this pole, and I'm just going to arbitrarily set it somewhere. If I go under Edit, and I say relative height, which I can also get at by saying Control R, a little menu pops up, and it says that I want either the top of the element, the center of the element, or the bottom of the element. So I want the center of that cross arm to be at 2 feet below the tip of the pole. And just for the sake of argument, let's say that this is something I'm going to do often. I can go in here under Save Settings, and I can say top arm, and it'll save that setting for the future. And we'll look at how that works in a second. And I say OK, and it goes ahead and it puts the middle of the cross arm 2 feet below the tip of the pole. Now let's go and set it to something. Drop it back down again. You'll notice if I say Control R, if I go under my combo list, that thing that I entered called top arm is now there, and I can easily pull it back up, and it always says center of element 2 feet below tip of pole. I say go ahead, and it goes OK. So that's kind of interesting. But now let's say, for the sake of argument, I'm going to take and I'm going to copy this cross arm down, and I'm going to set it at something like 20. And I'm going to set it at 8. So now I have two cross arms. All right, now I'm going to add a cable TV cable, and I want to set its height to 8 feet below bottom power. So it's going to automatically look at this system and say, okay, well, I see two cross arms. Here's the bottommost one. I'm going to put that 8 feet below that one. Okay, and it goes ahead and puts it 8 feet below bottom power. And we can demonstrate that that's actually what happened if I just delete this. Okay, and I say Control R, and I want to set that, I could have saved it, but I want to set that at 8 feet below bottom power again. Now it jumped up because I didn't have that second arm. It understood bottom power. So I can do things relative to the tip, relative to the ground line, relative to top power, relative to bottom power, relative to top com, relative to bottom com, all those things. The other thing is I can do is I can select groups of things. All right, now if I say Control R, it says, okay, I want to put the center of this group of things, or the top of, let's do the top of this group of things at 6 feet below tip of the pole, and they will stay together when I say OK, but the whole group drops down in such a way that the top of the topmost thing in that group is now 6 feet below the tip of the pole. And I could have done it from ground line up and so on and so forth. So this new relative setting tool is very powerful, and in addition to being used in regular pole editing like I'm doing here, it can also be used in stringing. So if I say I want to string something on my pole, I can now say, in line design mode, I want to string everything I'm stringing so that the group starts 10 feet below bottom power, or so on and so forth. So you can see how this saves a lot of mental arithmetic and mental gyration in order to set the relative heights of various things. And it understands the size of things too, right? So if I go in and I say, I'm going to take a transformer, I'm going to throw a transformer on this pole, and I want to do that to be so that the top of it, because this has always been kind of a pain in the rump, if the top of that transformer is 2 feet below, well, 1 foot below bottom power, it will now place that 1 foot, the top of that transformer, whatever dimension it is, 1 foot below the bottom power. And I say go ahead, and it's okay, and there, go ahead and went ahead and did it for me. So getting elements so that they are precisely positioned, understanding their dimensions, understanding the dimensions of the pole, understanding where the power zone and the comm zone is now much easier using this relative position tool.